Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. JoAnn Tully, and I have a treat for you tonight. I actually, I talk a lot about mindset and cleaning up your mindset, cleaning up the negativity, getting at your limiting beliefs and reversing those things and solving your problems and all that kind of stuff, and linking your physical symptoms to underlying messages, whether it's limiting beliefs or some type of an emotion that needs to be cleared out. So tonight I have a special guest with us. This is Hunter Brunsvold, and we're just going to have a little chat here about what he has experienced in doing this work. He's really, really good at it. And I just want everyone to get some insights, a different perspective from someone else. So welcome, Hunter.
Thank you.
And so for, just make it all clear and, so we're all on the table here. Hunter is my son, and he has learned a lot of this stuff through me and through other sources, but he's just really picked up on this stuff so well. So Hunter, tell me about how you first became interested in this mindset work.
I think it's probably sophomore year of college, I think was when we kind of first started to get into it. You had kind of dabbled into it, and then you had given me some things to try when I had issues. Remember my sophomore year, I was playing basketball and I didn't really want to keep playing, but I felt like I was obligated to keep playing because I lived with some of the basketball guys and kept wanting to keep in touch with them. And I had a bunch of ankle issues. So I think that was the first time that I can remember where I really got kind of involved with the mindset stuff and kind of more or less started to try this stuff out.
Yeah. Did you have any specific moment or specific episode where you thought, oh my God, there's something to this?
Yeah, it was probably with my ankle problem where I kept spraining my ankle over and over again. I've never had ankle problems before. And that was kind of when I talked with you. And then there was another thing I think would happen with eating eating the mess hall's food. I wasn't able to
Yeah.
digest any of it. It was giving me diarrhea really bad. I couldn't keep anything down. So then those two things are probably the first time where I was like, okay, there's something more to this than just uh, some mumbo jumbo stuff.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about, because I actually remember now, I'd forgotten about the food, the cafeteria food,
hmm
and what you ended up finding out about that. So expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, so my sophomore year, I lived with three other guys on the basketball team, and then obviously as a team, we'd usually go eat in the mess hall together. And I mean, it's the college mess hall, so I mean, the food generally isn't the greatest. I mean, it's so when we were in there, everyone was always complaining about how much the food sucked, how much they didn't want to eat it, and I mean, I was just eating it because I wanted to eat it. I mean, I didn't think it was as bad as excuse me, as everybody was making it out to be. But what I found out is I was absorbing a lot of their negativity of their view on the food, and it was causing me stomach pains where I was basically causing me to have diarrhea.
So when you realized what was going on, how'd you turn that around?
Well, I mean, the first thing was, yeah, I was just coming to the realization that that was the issue. Uh, and then once I figured that out, just realizing that they have their own opinions and that I don't need to take that on for myself. I can just have my own opinion. I can enjoy my food and not have to get upset because they're upset about it.
Yeah, cool, cool. And I don't remember specifically the ankle issues. There's another one, like the jaw issue. I remember that one more predominantly. But tell me about the ankle issues. What did you find out with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I remember it was beginning of my sophomore year, started playing basketball, open gym. I thought I'd had uh, a decent shot to play varsity, but I didn't practice or do much during the summer. Come to find out that I just kind of was losing my passion for playing basketball. So I decided to give it another shot, see if I could play varsity and just have some fun. But about halfway through the preseason, once we started practicing, I was like, I don't have the heart for it anymore. So I was doing a one-on-one drill with a teammate, and he had stepped on my foot, and I ended up spraining my ankle. Um, and then from then on out, I sprained it like 3 or 4 times within the next 2 weeks, tweaked it again, and I've never had ankle issues. So I talked with you a little bit, but then kind of sat with it, and I'm just like, I thought about quitting basketball then and there, but I'm just like, I've realized that I kind of felt stuck playing, I had to play basketball because of my teammates. And then, I mean, there's been some other people that had tried to quit mid-season, and the coaches are like, you owe it to your teammates to stick it out and play the rest of the season. So I kind of felt like that was going to be the response anyway. So more or less, I felt trapped and immobilized, like I couldn't move. So once I'd figured that out, it was kind of like letting that go, just trying to stay loose and have fun with it. And from then on out, I didn't have any ankle issues.
Awesome. Awesome. So do you remember the jaw issues that you
I
had?
do, but I don't remember the exact what it was that was causing that. Because I remember, I got lockjaw. It was so bad where I could actually like barely open my mouth.
Yeah.
And it
And
was on my left side of my face, I think, but I don't remember the exact reason for it. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
something like I
how
needed
about
to
this?
say.
Well, what I remember is that, yeah, you were coming home like different breaks and things, and you're like, adjust me. And, with the jaw, it's usually when the neck is tight, you clear out the neck first, and then you can adjust the jaw after that. But for you, it's not that, like, I knew right away that you weren't tight enough in your joints, in your neck
Hmm.
and the jaw. You weren't tight enough to be in as much pain and locked
Hmm.
up as you were in. So I knew it had to be mental. So then it was just kind of like, okay, think this through. And what I remember is that what you finally hit on was like you were wanting to tell somebody something. That's what you thought it was. But then it didn't really go away until you had that one meeting with your coaches, like the basketball season had finally ended, and you
Hmm.
finally had a chance to tell them that you no longer wanted to be on the team.
Yeah.
And after that conversation, then it just all faded away
Yeah. I
instantly.
mean, yeah, when we just started talking about it, I mean, my mind went straight to I wanted to like yell something at somebody, and it was I wanted to yell at the coaches, I want to quit because I don't want to play anymore. So that was, I mean, thinking about that, that was, yeah, whether I got there like with thinking through it or just actually by doing something about it without realizing that was the issue. I mean, yeah, that's ringing a lot of bells with me, and that sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think, looking back, I think that year you actually made so many connections that I think you really like started getting a handle on it at that time.
Yeah.
Um, but how about, like, at what point, when did you actually start looking at resources outside of me?
Oh, that would have been senior year of college. I think I started to dabble in it with the Abraham Hicks stuff, law of attraction. 'Cause I came home from at the end of the semester with splitting headaches, and I'd never had headaches before. And when I found out I was picking up on other people's like negativity and what do I want to say? Like we were cramming for finals, so everyone was like freaking out. So everyone was just high, intense, strung out, and I picked up on that again, like I did my sophomore year with the food stuff, and it was just giving me crazy, crazy bad headaches. So you directed me towards Abraham Hicks. I kind of did a little bit of that, and then my senior year, I kind of did some more of that on my own. But honestly, until like I would say probably until I graduated and moved into my first apartment was when I really started to do things on my own. I started reading the Law of Attraction books. Um, so it was probably once 6 months or so after I graduated that I started really doing branching out and actually taking initiative and doing stuff for myself.
Hmm.
I mean, before then I would sit with some of the stuff, but most of the time I would usually ask you because at the time you were a lot better at identifying what was going on with me than I was. Maybe it was just because I didn't want to do it at the time, but it was easier to come talk to you about it.
Yeah, yeah. So were any of the resources, those early, the books, the law of attraction books, and I think you were probably listening to some YouTube videos
Hmm.
too, when you first started hearing other people speak about this, were you confused at all, or did it make sense to you right away?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some confusion with everything that's going on. I mean, when you get this whole thing thrown at you, if you kind of try and dive in by yourself, it's overwhelming. Because I mean, my thing was I didn't know where to start. I just kind of started listening to random videos. I would try and narrow down what I wanted to listen to on YouTube or something. But in terms of books and stuff, I had absolutely zero clue. Um, so it was kind of a chaotic mess, and I mean, it was one that I kind of like talked to you about some of the books. I mean, you gave me a lot of books when I first brought this to your attention, but I mean, I hadn't read any of them until like the last 6 months. So I mean, it was just kind of like one of those things that I got exposed to a lot of stuff and just kind of had to find my way naturally through all the stuff, just looking through the books and see what kind of spoke to me, making
Hmm.
connections, and then just kind of going from there.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, we've had lots and lots of conversations about this stuff, in general and more specifics about what's going on in our lives and things. But
Hmm.
how important do you feel it is to have somebody to talk to about this mindset work?
Oh, I mean, I think it's one of the most important things you can have. I mean, especially in the beginning, if you are trying to like find some stuff to do, or like, I mean, where to start is a huge thing. But then having somebody that's like been through it. I mean, you were through, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years of it before I really even got into it. So I mean, you had a ton of experience with it, and it made a lot of sense to you. So I mean, or even, I mean, just starting off, it's incredibly helpful, because then you can, when you're talking about these sort of things, you can see things in, like, now that I've done this for a couple years now, when I see other people having issues, it's pretty easy to pinpoint where their symptoms are coming from. So it's easier to learn from people. And then when you both are doing it, it's easy to see what the other person might be missing. Because I mean, even after we've been doing this for a couple years now, I mean, there's still obvious things to other people that we're missing, and we just can't see it.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's so much easier to see what's going wrong in somebody else
Hmm.
than it is in yourself. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. How about anything recent that you've been able to do on your own with making connections with physical symptoms and what's going on in your head?
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind, with my company, I'm at a point now where I want to try and go move into an outside sales position. And I think this was probably three months ago or so. I woke up one morning, started to get a sore throat, and I was like, okay, what's this about? I mean, it wasn't there. I didn't know when I knew was sick. I mean, there was nothing going around. So I was like, I didn't know what it was. It came out of nowhere, and I was just sitting with it. And I think I sat with it for about 5 minutes or so, and then was going through questions in my mind, like, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And then I asked, do I need to go talk to somebody? Because I mean, with sore throats, generally that's you, like, you want to say something to somebody, or you're trying to hold something in. So I was like, went through some questions of stuff that I might want to ask somebody, and it was, I needed to go talk to my boss about becoming an outside salesman. So I sat with that. It resonated with me. I was like, boom, that's it. Sore throat went away within half hour. Then that day I went and talked to my boss about it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And so, I talk a lot in what I do about limiting beliefs, things like, I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving. I'm not worthy.
Hmm.
I don't matter.
Hmm.
Have you identified any of those things that might be sabotaging any areas of your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest ones right now is, for whatever reason, I've lacked self-confidence in my education for basically since my senior year of college. I don't know if I mean, I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention to some of my classes in college, but I definitely had the limiting belief of I can't do some, because I went to a Warburg and it's not ABEC accredited for engineering. So I'm like, obviously less intelligent than some of the other engineers that are out there that went to an ABEC accredited school. But then you get into the industry and you're working with some of these guys and you realize that I'm just as smart, if not smarter than most of them. Just because they went to a different school doesn't mean that I'm any less intelligent or any less capable. But that was one that, even now I'm still dealing with it a little bit. I mean, I got friends of mine that are equally intelligent or less intelligent that I went to school with, that I've known since childhood, that are basically have better careers than I do right now. And that's one of those things that's like, it's frustrating because I know how much potential I have, but yeah, I've been holding myself back by thinking that I'm not as smart as somebody else.
Yeah, that's huge for a lot of people. We tend to play small. We think that other people have some special gift or anything, and
Hmm.
we're all gifted. I mean, it's so, and I had to learn that the hard way too. But it's really important to believe in yourself and believe the possibilities, because you
Hmm.
really do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, if you had this whole process to do over again with, like, books you've read, or, the YouTube videos or anything like that, is there any place now that you would tell somebody, like, hey, start here, or, any
Mm.
advice?
I did have an answer for that until I started reading the Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil book, when it talks about, I mean, the conversation with the devil that he talks about with the devil, people calling people drifters. And then, I mean, most people, 98% of people have lost the ability to think for themselves. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, it's kind of something you have to feel out for yourself, but I would say a good starting point for books, Jack Canfield's Success Principles is good because it lays a foundation for how to do a lot of the things. That's the kind of issues I had with A Course in Miracles and the Law of Attraction stuff with Abraham Hicks is they don't generally give you a groundwork. They just kind of present to you with information. I mean, the course has those lessons, but I mean, still a lot of those, even if unless you're more experienced in some of the stuff, you're not really sure what you're doing. I think Jack does a pretty good job of just kind of laying out a base for what you should try to do or what like I mean, because one thing I still struggle with, I mean, I do it every day is meditate, but like a lot of times I'm pretty bad at getting my mind to focus and like quiet. So, I mean, it's one of those things for the longest time until I did it a lot more and then read more books. It was like, I had no idea what the goal of meditating was. I mean, until you get to that feeling, it's you're like, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. So that was like kind of frustrating. And also that was probably one of the harder things to be able to do is like, I don't know if I'm doing it right and that sort of stuff. So I thought Jack did a pretty good job of laying out a good basis for some of the stuff to start with, and then you can start getting into some more diving deeper into some of his things with A Course in Miracles, Law of Attraction, and some other books.
Yeah. Those are really good points because, yeah, it's like having a coach or somebody walk you through some of the things where like A Course in Miracles. Yeah. A lot of people find that difficult. Law of Attraction can seem to be a little bit easier, but still like having somebody kind of like walk you through all of that stuff. And again, Jack Canfield does a great job. It does set you up better so that you get a hold of the concepts and can run
Mm-hmm.
with them yourself after a while. But in the beginning, yeah, it's a lot of people do need help just to get the basic concepts down.
Yeah, well, I mean, a big thing that you learn too from A Course in Miracles is, I mean, because they have a whole section dedicated to redefining what words mean. I mean, that was an issue I had when I first started reading that a lot in the beginning was, I mean, for most of my life, I've had a negative connotation to what I consider organized religion in the church. And so, like, when they talk about in A Course in Miracles and they would mention God, religion, or anything like that, my mind initially went to negative places, and it's kind of like redefining some of that. So when you have somebody that's been through it, like you can talk to with them, it makes it easier because you're not still like repeating your own like same hatred for words, and you're able to take a step back, redefine them because you can talk with somebody else who's been through this and has a different perspective than you.
Exactly, exactly. And Course in Miracles, they use a lot of Christian terms, but it's not a religion. It's
Mm-hmm.
a thought system, a
Mm-hmm.
way to like learn to forgive and stop listening to your ego. And I remember for me too, that was finally the only thing that made sense to me with like the way A Course in Miracles defined God and
Mm-hmm.
this and all this stuff. That was the only definition that ever made sense to me. I felt like finally this will work for me. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I've been mainly drawn to that. But yeah, I've loved Law of Attraction, and Jack Canfield is awesome. And there's so many other, Napoleon Hill, like you mentioned too, so many great
Mm-hmm.
places. But yeah, it's to learn this stuff and really be good at it. It's great to have somebody to talk to, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you can find a coach to help you just for a few months or whatever, get the ball rolling, help you get the ball rolling, then it's easy peasy after that for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I got two things I want to add to this,
Yeah.
this part. I mean, because another advice I would give to anyone just starting this is, I mean, it may seem overwhelming, but just read all of the books you can, because I mean, you notice with most of these authors that write this type of stuff, there's an underlying similarity between all of them, and most of them reference the same stuff. They might use a little different terminology or have a little bit different opinions, but the underlying beliefs are the same for all of these authors, and a lot of them know each other and have worked with each other and like have talk and mention each other in each other's books and that sort of stuff. So I mean, even if you don't fully grasp what's going on, just keep reading. I mean, keep learning. I mean, because that's what some of the stuff for me is. I mean, I have no idea what they're talking about, but I keep reading it or I reread it and I read a different book, and then I'm like, all of a sudden, boom, it clicks.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's one thing I would definitely recommend to do with this. And then, hang on, second one escaped my mind for the time being. Um,
But yeah, I totally agree with you too. It's like everyone says things in just a little bit different way, so you pick up on it more and more as you go through.
Yeah, and then another. So I just remembered. So the other thing I wanted to add when you talk about having a coach. I mean, all of these books, all of them have. I mean, Jack Canfield's got it. Napoleon Hill's got it. I believe Esther and Jerry Hicks have it, but it's all there. Each one of these spiritual teachers has a section devoted to working in groups, like whether it's called mastermind groups or anything like that. And I mean, they talk about the power of when you have people that are like-minded individuals that are trying to better themselves. I mean, what you can accomplish by bouncing ideas off each other, gaining new knowledge from each other is an incredible thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Hunter?
Mm. Not that I can think of. Do you have any more questions? I mean, because I think we covered a decent amount of it.
Yeah, I think we did. So, it's basically giving somebody else who hasn't done this work a taste of, what it was like for them and what they would recommend. So yeah, I think we hit about everything, and you do a great job of this, but along the way you needed some help. And like
Yeah,
now,
so then, well, I guess, yeah, looking, one more thing, talking about any advice I would give to people. I mean, is even if it doesn't seem like it's working right away, because even for me, I mean, it took me 2.5 years to really get into this stuff. I mean, it was a lot of the stuff seemed strange at first. I was like, my mom's crazy. But then, I mean, you start to get into it more and you're like, okay, maybe it works for some things. And I mean, the whole idea that, I mean, a lot of people talk about you carry stress in your body in different places. And I mean, I work with a ton of coworkers that they say they carry stress in their shoulders and stuff. So, I mean, the more you start to work with this stuff, the more you realize it works. And I mean, the more you want to go into it. I mean, it's like when you start enjoying something, you want to keep doing it over and over again because it works. I mean, that's kind of what it was like for this. It might be a little slow at first. You might be kind of apprehensive, but just relax and, I mean, go with what you feel is right. I mean, if you stumble out of it for 6 months or something, that's no big deal. You can get back into it at any time.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Anything else you want to add then, Hunter?
I think that's it for now.
Okay, that was great. I loved that. That's like a lot of great information for the lay people out there that have been wondering if they can do this or not. So I appreciate it. You have a great evening, and we will talk soon.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, I stopped recording then. So
Okay, it still says recording on my screen.
maybe I didn't stop it.